Hello everyone, it's token time. Today we're going to be going into Standard with a very fun token generating deck. Let's talk a little bit about what we're trying to do here. So at the top end, we've got Mondrak. Mondrak is going to create double the tokens we normally would. And then along with that, we do have a lot of ways of getting tokens. We have Urabrask's Forge. This is going to make a bigger and bigger token each turn, swing in each combat. We've got Squee to make a goblin token, wedding announcement for that human token. And we've got Skrelv's Hive as well. This is going to make 1/1 mites for us. And then Crawling Chorus, when it dies, is also going to go ahead and make those mites for us. To pair with our token generation strategies, we've got Skrelv. This is to ensure our tokens can hit and to keep our creatures alive, because the creatures we do have on the battlefield we do want to keep. We've got Luminarch Veterans. This is going to negate the downside of Skrelv's Hive and actually gain us a lot of life because we're going to have a lot of token ETBs. Then we have Furnace Skullbomb and the Monumental Facade. This is going to both put oil counters on Urabrask Forge, making larger and larger tokens for us even quicker. As for removal, we've got Ossification to deal with targeted enemy permanents that are an issue, and we also have Brotherhood's End. We actually don't mind wiping the board here just because the Forge is going to create a token that's going to die anyway, so depending on our board state, this could be a good get out of jail free card. We also have Norn's Wellspring that synergizes well with all of the small tokens that are going to be dying, since it's going to let us scry a whole bunch and will eventually convert into card draw. Now, if you guys have any ideas for another video you'd like to see me make sure you comment that down below. And if you enjoy my content, make sure you like and subscribe. Let's go ahead and see how this does. Alright, here we are on the play going into the first game. We're going to take the mulligan. I would want to see some more lands. This is perfect. Let's keep bottom the Squee. Alright, start with Battlefield Forge. Play out the Skull Bomb. Now we are going to want to see one more land. This is perfectly fine. Go ahead and pass the turn. Since we have the Forge, there's no need to sacrifice the Skull Bomb yet. Alright. Now that they have a good blocker, we can't really play out Squee, but we will play the Forge. No attacks, just let the token die here. Next turn, we've got a couple of different options. We can draw on the Furnace Skullbomb, increase the number of oil counters on our Forge. We can also play out Mondrak if we draw the land. Both are going to be really good for us. Alright, no land. We can also wipe the board here. That does feel pretty strong, but we're going to go for the card draw instead. We do pick up a land. And I think we're gonna get rid of lifelink. That's just gonna be the biggest issue for us right now. If they want to block, they can block. Now we're gonna start steadily dealing damage. Next turn, we can play out Mondrak. This is gonna give us 2 tokens off the Forge, which is gonna be absolutely insane. This is going to grow out of control really quickly for us. Very difficult for our opponent to deal with that. Also, having landed it on the battlefield, I'm not too scared of removal. I think Ottawara is going to be the main thing our opponent can do to try and deal with us. Alright. Looks good. Okay. Brotherhood's End. Excellent to have in hand here. Let's go ahead and play out Mondrak. You can tap these down to draw a card. Looking good. Alright, swinging in for 10. I think we're going to start seeing some blocks very soon. Because next turn we're going to be swinging in for 12. Yep. He'll tap down to draw a card. Okay. Opponent down at 8. Next turn's going to be a serious problem for our opponent if they don't find a way of dealing with the Forge or Mondrak. Okay. We can always cast Brotherhood's End, clear the board. I think that's going to be the best way to do that. Put a counter on who, I wonder? If it's one of their smaller guys, then that's the most ideal. Nothing they have is going to be able to survive the Brotherhood's End. This is perfect. Opponent tapped out, and we are looking at lethal. So let's go ahead and start with the Brotherhood's End. Clear the board. Mondrak's going to stay alive. That 4 toughness. 2 cards in hand. Our opponent shouldn't be able to respond. Both of their blue creatures are also tapped down. Yep, start drawing some cards. We've got it. Alright, good game. Alright, opponent goes first. We're on the draw. We've got enough lands to cast our hand, and a very strong hand by the looks of it as well. We're going to start aggressively with a Crawling Chorus. Opponent's on a blue-white deck. If they're playing Control, the Crawling Chorus is going to be a great start. If they're starting with Soldiers, maybe not. Let's go ahead and play out the red land. Move to combat. Alright. Well, there's plenty more where that came from. Play out Skrelv's Hive. Looks good. Okay. Opponent taps out for Jace.
Phyrexia's plans are already in motion.
And our opponent's milling us. Well, this is about as good as it could get here, because we've got the Forge. No one expects a 1-1 with haste. There goes their Jace.
Your victory is an illusion, nothing more.
Next turn, we can start playing out some of the Furnace Skull Bombs. We've got Ossification. Alright. Opponent has the replacement Jace.
Surrender your mind to Phyrexia's will. I know where to find all the answers.
Funnily enough for us, we actually can just take care of the Jace with our Forge. And a Might.
Too much noise.
A little bit of misordering there. Doesn't change too much. That's 1 damage. Get our land drop. Get the Skull Bomb. There we go. You always want to draw a card on your turn if you haven't hit your land drop yet. Okay. I'm not entirely sure what our opponent's deck is trying to do. But eventually we'll figure it out. Okay. Now we could play Mondrak here, but I am a bit fearful of the counterspell. So let's just go ahead and pump the Forge. Think the Forge is going to be the safer play for sure. And now we have a Wedding Announcement. Move to combat, and we're going to swing out. Now let's see if there's a counterspell. There is. That's fine. I'm glad we didn't go for Mondrak here. Next turn we will be able to swing for 11 though. Alright. Creature's exiled. Okay. Let's go ahead and play out our Mondrak. Move to combat, and we've got it. Alright, good game. Alright. No red lands and 2 forges isn't fantastic for us. We're going to want to take a mulligan here, even though this would otherwise be a nice hand. Alright, this is going to be a little bit better for us. Definitely a high curve, but we're going to bottom one of the Wedding Announcements. We just need to see 1 more land. We do, though, so no concern here. Start with the red land. Yep. Opponent's playing a Rakdos deck. Probably gonna see Wildarin Epicure. Okay, so this could be the combo with Obnixilis. Lots of the 1 damage permanent, so we do want to be on the lookout for All Will Be One, as well as the Obnixilis on turn 4. We're gonna play aggressively here, though. Yep. Fortunately for us, if our opponent is looking for a combo, they're going to be playing a little bit slower. Okay, well there's one Obs Nixilis and a Brotherhood's End. Brotherhood's End tells us not to commit too heavily and to tokens on the board, so Urabrask Forge is probably going to be the better choice for next turn. So we'll go ahead and play this out. We could have played Squee, but we'd be getting less value in the long run if he just wiped the board next turn. Our opponent did miss a land drop, though. Oh, opponent's playing with a Forge as well. Alright. Okay, now we could play out Mondrak, but we're actually going to save him for a later turn. We're going to play out Skrelv and Squee instead. There we go. Start dealing some extra damage. Next turn, if we draw a land, we'll Furnace. Even if we don't draw a land, we'll probably Furnace to put more counters on the Forge. Alright, yep. No issues here. Let's see. Kill Squee, that's fine. Okay, well. Start with the Furnace. Monumental Facade. And then we'll pay 1 life and do the same thing again. Looking good. Now we're swinging in for 7 here. Next turn with Mondrak, we're definitely looking at close to lethal damage, depending on what our opponent's going to play here. So next turn's going to be big for us. We also have Monumental Facade to put an extra oil counter on the Forge. This is a great synergy. Alright. Opponent's swinging out. So we'll go ahead and block the 2 damage. With Trample and a 1/1, we'd only be blocking 1 in each of those 2 cases. So you are going to be going for the win next turn. Opponent plays an Anvil. Yep, down to 4. Yep, we're going to be at 3 now, so this is going to be the turn. Okay. Well, let's start by putting an oil counter on the Forge. Here's Mondrak. We can protect him with Skrelv on Sundown Pass. We'll be able to swing in for 18 with the Urabrask's Forge if Mondrak stays on the battlefield, but she will. Okay. Just need to not die currently. Puts us in a really good spot. Let's go ahead and make our tokens. See, our opponent's thinking they might have some form of interaction, but Skrelv keeps Mondrak on the battlefield. And that's all we really care about. Skrelv can also protect one of our tokens. So let's see. That's 17. We'll have to protect our other token with Skrelv. Yep. Pro red. There we go. Good game. Okay, here we are on the play. We're gonna take a mulligan. I want to see a hand that lets us do a little bit more. I like this a lot better. Let's keep. Now, we have a lot of 3-mana plays. I think Squee is going to be the least consistent there. Let's go ahead and start with Skrelv. Next turn, we can follow it up with Skrelv's Hive. Skrelv into Skrelv's Hive is always a fun play. Gotta love the little guys. We'll be able to play out the Forge next turn. Alright. Opponent gets their planes. Here comes the Forge. Moving to combat. Swing in for 1 with Trample. That's gonna hit. Next turn, we can put an oil counter on the Forge with the Facade. Can also play out our Furnace Skull Bomb. And activate that for even more counters and card draw. We've got some options. Okay, Spirited Companion. Okay, here's Mondrak. Do we care more about Mondrak here? I don't think so. I think we're going to save Mondrak for next turn. Okay, let's go ahead and put an oil counter here. Can't trust Auto Tapper for this one. Alright, and there's another Forge. Move to combat. Let's swing like this. Should be a good chunk of damage. Alright, blocks with Spirited Companion. Takes 5 off the Forge. Now we have to decide how quick we want to be with this. We'll be able to swing for 12 next turn if we can resolve Mondrak. Now with 4 white mana, we could be looking at a removal spell. We could also be potentially facing Wandering Emperor. Let's go ahead and play out another Forge. Then save Crawling Chorus for post-combat. Move to combat. Let's swing out. Yep, okay, it is Wandering Emperor. Let's see if they exile, or if they go ahead and make a token to block. Okay, they exile the biggest threat. That's fine, he was gonna die at the end of combat anyway. Looking good. Crawling Chorus. Next turn, if we can get Mondrak down and keep him there, that's going to be absolutely insane with the 2 Forges. We're going to be making 4 tokens. Okay, our opponent isn't playing mono white.
Our swords will cross that. Guards!
Okay, this implies that there's another Wandering Emperor. I'm okay with that, though. Let's see what we get. Another white land. Now we can actually tap this, put an oil counter here. Kind of spread out that wealth. Then here's Mondrak. We have Skrelv to protect him. Yep, opponent says good game, so we've got it. Okay, here we are on the play. This looks good to me. We'll keep. No turn 2 play. That's going to be alright. Got a couple of different options for things we could do. Veteran into Squee is kind of what we're looking at for the early. This is one of our weaker early games, but it still might get there because we have some strong aggro potential. If our opponent starts with a tap land, that's even better for us. We're actually going to be able to swing out, get in our first point of damage here. Alright. There may be a counterspell, but we gotta go for the Squee anyway. We get it. Could be removal that we're looking at. Yep. Alright, we still gain some life, deal some extra damage. Opponent down at 17. Alright, here's Kaido.
No secrets. Our eyes are everywhere.
Okay, well, it's Forge time. Now, we could have played Mondrak here, but I do really want to start growing our Forge. This is also going to synergize well with our Luminarch Veteran, giving us a whole bunch of life. Each turn, we're gaining 2 life. That means our opponent's gonna have to exceed that. Right now, they can only deal 1 damage to us each turn. Draws a card off Kaido, that's fine.
I know something you don't know.
Okay, 2 Mondraks. So we'll go for 1 right now. Might as well. It's gonna impact the number of tokens we make off the forge. We do get it. Alright, that's 2 life gained. But it has been dealt with. That's fine. Well, let's see if they want to keep Kaido. I'll have to sack a Fairy Mastermind. And still takes 1 damage over here.
I was hoping you wouldn't notice me.
That's pretty good. I'm happy with that trade. Okay.
Thanks. I'll be taking that, ma'am.
Fingers crossed. Alright. Now we could go for Mondrak again. Seems like our opponent didn't have a counter before, just the removal spell. So we'll try it. Okay. So they do have the removal spell. Or the counter spell, but we do get rid of Kaido now.
Whoops. You caught me.
Up at 30 life as well. Just Urabrask's Forge is going to get out of hand pretty quick. Our opponent with 3 cards in hand only has a 1/1. Okay, sure. Shieldred, sacrifice a veteran. Okay, well, here's a Facade. We're going to play out the other veteran by putting a counter on here. He actually isn't going to be able to block with Shieldred if he wants to keep her. That's pretty great for us. Opponent down to 11. And since we played the flip side of our veteran, we're also going to gain our 2 life. It's just going to be spread out over the course of our token's life as it gets sacrificed at the end of the turn. Next turn, I'll be able to swing for 7, no blocks. Alright, well, here's another Forge. Let's try this now before we tap down the Monumental Facade. Alright, that gets countered. That makes sense to me. Okay. Move to combat. Let's go ahead and get our token. Our opponent's having to waste a lot of their removal on tokens. Okay, well, this is a flyer. We'll hit him down to 10. And then we're going to play out Skrelv. Skrelv is going to make it even harder for them to get through our Forge tokens. Alright.
Those who get in my way tend to regret it.
Let's go ahead and sacrifice our flyer. He served his purpose very well. Sure. Okay. Move to combat. I'm actually okay with blocks here. We're gonna save Skrelv. He's probably going to have to block. Alright, well. Our opponent's running out of options. Let's go ahead and play the wedding announcement. We're gonna gain some extra life. He can plus the Liliana, make us discard Brotherhood's End. I'm fine with that. Okay, since that's the only removal spell, well, yep, okay. Alright, and back to it. It's token time. This looks like a good hand. Having 2 Forges is very strong. Forge is one of the best cards in our deck. It's definitely good to see it in our starting hand. Ossification is going to help us deal with our opponent's creature as well. Norn's Wellspring also synergizes very well. Looks like we're playing into a red deck. Let's go ahead and play out the Wellspring. Depending on the creature they play, we'll deal with it, but not before we deal with the Forge. Alright, yeah. Looks like this is a normal mono red deck. And another forge. Alright, lots of forges. Okay, let's scry. We don't need to draw skrelv. Gonna be looking for our lands. Ideally, we'll be able to use ossification to deal with our opponent's board. Specifically, this flipped invasion is going to be a little bit of a problem. Though, by attacking it, they actually save us 5 damage to face. This is probably the best case scenario for us. Yep. Oh, and we draw a second one, so now we can use ossification twice. Alright, you will be gone. Let's go here. Let's get rid of the adversary as well. Just thinning down the board, it's gonna buy us some extra time. Yep. Opponent is running out of cards. Brotherhood's End is going to be really good for us. We have an empty board. I want to see our opponent try and develop a couple of threats. Yeah. Okay. Wipe the board. Go ahead, swing in for 3. We're not going to activate the Wellspring yet. We're going to wait till after the sacrifice. Battlefield Forge. Do we want to draw that next turn? 2 Urabrask's Forges in hand. We won't be able to cast both off 1 extra land, so I don't see why we should draw that. Go ahead and bottom it there. Alright, well, there's the invasion. That's 2 damage. Opponent only has 1 card in hand. We're eventually going to be able to beat them at this race. Alright. Well, fortunately for us, here's a Forge. Here's another Wellspring. This is a phenomenal combo. Swinging in for 5. With another Forge in hand. This is going to be really good for us. I like the Furnace Skull Bomb. Actually think that that's going to be able to push us exactly where we need to go next turn. Alright, here's Felden. They shouldn't have a way to deal 6 damage for 2 mana. Alright. Let's play the Forge. Skull Bomb. Buff our Forge. Draw a card. Okay. And that's 5 and 4 for 9. Good game. Okay. Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed watching. This was a very fun deck to play. Definitely lots of tokens and very easy for it to get out of control really fast. One of the best things about Urabrask's Forge here is that opponents have to commit their resources to dealing with growing token threats, which ultimately are going to go away at the end of combat anyway, so it's basically like our own form of card advantage in that. Now this deck does eat through its hand very quickly. Card draw, it becomes very important in the late game for making sure that we're still relevant as we have additional mana. But besides that, the deck does a great job at doing what it does, which is making tons of tokens and swinging in for a whole bunch of damage. If there are any other decks you want to see me play in Standard, make sure you leave that in a comment down below. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure you like and subscribe. I'll see you all next time.